Imagine this. You start with simple crypto trading, ordinary deals, small profits. But over time, everything changes. It's no longer just about making money. It becomes a whole money laundering machine. You have millions in your hands, transactions scattered all over the world, and all the traces have vanished without a trace. What started as easy earnings has turned into a game with deadly stakes. I found this incredible story on one of the popular Darknet forums. There, they discuss not only crypto trading, but also schemes for legalizing dirty money. However, one mistake can ruin everything. My name is Mr. Dark Web, and today I'll tell you how P2P trading turned into a tool for laundering millions, and how greed stripped people of their humanity. But remember, everything you hear is illegal. Respect the law and value your freedom. This story started with a modest beginning, P2P trading and huge ambitions, but it ended in money laundering and betrayal. So let's start from the beginning. My friend and I started with a simple P2P cryptocurrency trading business with only $10,000 in our pockets. At first, it looked like a normal way to earn extra money, nothing special. But what at first seemed like a harmless way to earn money eventually turned into something much more serious, a real money laundering business. You definitely don't want to miss the ending of this story. My friend and I decided to dive into P2P cryptocurrency trading because it seemed like an easy way to make money. We chose a few popular platforms, such as Binance P2P, where people directly exchanged cryptocurrency for cash or through a bank account without any intermediaries. It was the perfect start for us. The mechanics were simple. We bought cryptocurrency on one exchange, then transferred it to another, exchanged one coin for another, and sold it to people for exotic currencies, such as the Indonesian rupiah. The earnings were small, 1–2% of each transaction, basically a penny. But dreams of big money remained only dreams. To really make money, you had to turn over much larger amounts or have much more time to trade. We literally lived behind our screens, watching the rates almost around the clock and getting nervous when they suddenly fell. Over time, I started to notice something that changed my perception of P2P cryptocurrency trading, and this is where a new stage began. At first, everything seemed quite transparent. You exchange crypto for fiat or vice versa, get your small commission and continue trading. But as we dove deeper into this market, I realized that these P2P platforms not only offer lucrative deals, but also the ability to easily hide the origin of funds. The more we worked, the more we saw people spreading their money across dozens of accounts, making them virtually invisible. It all started when our small P2P company became official. We registered as a business and even paid taxes. Everything looked standard. A few transactions a day, exchanging crypto for fiat. Everything was clean and transparent. Thanks to the fact that we were working legally, we had no problems with the tax authorities. The money that passed through our platform automatically became clean after taxes were paid. And this began to seem like the key to something more interesting. Later, I noticed that if we distributed transactions between different accounts that we could create ourselves, it was virtually impossible to trace the money. We could transfer crypto between accounts within the platform, send it through various crypto exchanges, and each new transaction would practically erase the traces of the previous one. The idea was that as soon as cryptocurrency got to our platform, it could be literally blurred. Some was sold, some was transferred to other wallets, and some was withdrawn through other exchanges. It worked like a real washing machine for dirty clothes. Cryptocurrency entered one account, and after a few transactions, it left another account completely clean, and it all looked completely legal through the payment of taxes. I realized that this system was just perfect for money laundering. And the thought struck me, we can do more than just exchange crypto. We can clean up huge amounts of money without anyone even suspecting illegal activity. But if things seem too easy, there's usually a catch. Greed often leads to bad consequences, but more on that later. One day we decided to take a chance and try a new approach. We posted an advert on the Darknet that we could launder cryptocurrency, and our first client was not long in coming. He wanted to launder $3,000. We drew up a clear plan. For amounts up to $10,000, we charged a 30% commission, and for larger amounts, 20%, because the higher the amount, the more profit for us. However, since we were just starting out and did not yet have a reputation in this area, we made an exception for the first clients. The commission was 20% regardless of the amount to attract people and get some positive feedback. The minimum amount to work with was $2,000 because it was not so profitable below that. The transaction went smoothly, a few transactions between accounts, sales on different platforms, exchange through several services, and the money became clean. The client was satisfied, and we earned our $300 in less than an hour. We realized that this business was much more profitable than what we had been doing before and had huge earning potential. Over time, new clients began to appear who learned about us through our first successful transactions. I decided not to stop and created a thread on a popular Darknet forum where I described our service in detail. We launder cryptocurrency quickly, without any questions and with a guarantee of anonymity. Our profile on the forum began to rapidly gain a reputation. We received feedback from clients who were pleased with how quickly and easily their money became clean. Each new client added trust points to us, which only increased the flow of orders. We used P2P crypto platforms as the main channel for transactions. They allowed us to conduct transactions without intermediaries, and each client had their own wallet, so everything looked absolutely legal. The key advantage of P2P trading was that all transactions were peer-to-peer. We communicated directly with crypto buyers and sellers, bypassed centralized exchanges, and left no trace in the banking system. We thought carefully about how to blur the transactions, and then, in parts, the money was withdrawn through various exchanges around the world. In the first 6 months, we processed hundreds of transactions with a total value of about $3 million. But it was just training. A year later, our company began to process transactions worth $1 million a month. Each transaction went flawlessly, and fake accounts protected us from any unnecessary questions. Our transactions were so well disguised that no platform or government agency could trace us. We honed our scheme to perfection. We used several exchangers, mixers, and accounts of people who exchanged crypto with us as part of a completely legal P2P business. They had no idea that they were helping to launder money. This made them absolutely clean, and customers could safely withdraw cash. With each new deal, we realized that we were ready to work with even larger amounts. Our oldest client, with whom we had been working for a long time, usually dealt with relatively small amounts, up to a maximum of USD 100,000. These were simple transactions that we executed without any difficulties. He was a stable client for us, never throwing up any surprises. But one day, everything changed. He contacted me and offered me something completely new, to launder $20 million. I remember how my stomach turned when I saw this figure. It was a sum hundreds of times larger than any of the previous transactions. I immediately had questions. Why such a sharp jump? Why us? And most importantly, where did he get so much money? But that wasn't the only thing that worried me. The client had set a clear deadline. Everything had to be done in 5 months, and he wanted to get only cash. Imagine this, several huge sports bags full of cash. When he mentioned cash, I was really worried. Previously, he had always worked exclusively with crypto. He received pure cryptocurrency on his wallet and then decided what to do with it, just like all other clients. And then suddenly cash. This is a completely different game, and I had to play it very carefully. The first thing that came to my mind was that it could be a setup. The 20 million, the cash, the short time frame, everything looked too suspicious. I couldn't shake the feeling that he could have been working undercover for the FBI, or maybe even for some international anti-money laundering organization. I talked to my friend, and he was also concerned. We understood that such deals attract attention, especially when it comes to such large sums and short terms. If we were caught, it would be the end of us. We would have faced long prison sentences, and no lawyers could have saved us. But later, one of us did end up in prison, but I'll tell you about that later. We decided to review all our previous transactions with this client. We had been working with him for over a year, and he had always been cautious. Small amounts, clear deadlines, minimal questions. He was In fact, an ideal client. And then it dawned on us. What if all these past transactions were a test of our competence in this business? Perhaps he was gradually testing us before entrusting us with something really serious. Such a sum is a huge risk for him, and he would not have cooperated with strangers. He already knew how we worked, saw the results, and decided that we were professionals, so he could entrust us with a case of this magnitude. But even after that, the feeling of anxiety never left us. If something went wrong, if something happened to the money, or we couldn't deliver it on time, we would lose not only his trust, but it could lead to huge problems. And it seemed like everything was against us. 5 months to complete the task, it's possible, but we'd have to work non-stop and we'd still be sorely short of time. But the worst part was that transactions in crypto could be easily disguised, but with cash, it was a completely different story. And this increased the risk many times over. My friend and I couldn't make a decision for a long time. We were constantly weighing up the pros and cons. On the one hand, it was an incredible opportunity, huge profits, a chance to take our business to a whole new level. On the other hand, there was a risk of arrest or that the client would turn out to be a fake. And his words, "If you don't have the money on time, I'll find you." All of this put pressure on us. But after a few days of thinking, we decided that we knew how to handle this deal. Despite all the difficulties, we accepted the challenge. My friend was more risk-averse, and he was the one who finally convinced me. Then I understood why he was so convincing. The fear hadn't gone away, but the temptation to make millions was too strong to refuse. At that time, our legal P2P business was booming, and it wasn't just luck. We had carefully built a system where this business played a key role. Initially, we launched it to attract as many customers as possible. And it was easy because we offered better exchange conditions than our competitors. We could afford to work with minimal commissions or offer more favorable rates for buying and selling crypto because our main income came from shadow transactions. The more clients came to us to exchange cryptocurrencies, the more channels we had for money laundering. People thought they were just exchanging their bitcoins for cash, but we were using their transactions to launder dirty money. We became one of the most popular on the market thanks to our favorable conditions and fast exchanges. That's why we decided to tie the whole scheme to our legal P2P platform. We split the 20 million into many parts and gradually introduced them into the system through our legal channels. No one paid attention to these transactions because they looked like normal transactions. There were so many of them that no one began to suspect anything wrong. Everything went according to plan. The money went through exchangers, some went to mixers, and we had absolutely clean assets at the end. But even with such a strong system, I constantly felt tense. Every day I was gnawed by the thought, what if someone notices? What if one of our clients asks why the exchange rate is so favorable or why transactions are so much faster than others? We were playing with fire. Although the scheme worked perfectly, the fear of being found out stayed with me every day. Finally, after several months of hard work, we completed this huge deal. $20 million went through our system, and every tranche was flawlessly cleared. But the work didn't end there. The client wanted not just pure crypto, but cash. This made the process much more complicated because now we had to convert this money into paper dollars and transfer it in a way that would not arouse any suspicion. We used all our contacts in the offline world to ensure the safe withdrawal of cash. Every transaction was a risk, as any mistake could attract unwanted attention. We decided to split the cash withdrawal into dozens of parts to avoid suspicious large transactions. Each part was carefully withdrawn through different exchangers operated by our reliable partners. After that, the money was delivered to the client in several batches with the help of couriers whom we fully trusted. A few weeks later, when all the millions were delivered, we could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Everything went flawlessly, and the client received his money on time. 15% of the transaction amount was our earnings, less than the standard 20% due to the volume of the transaction. If it had been pure crypto, we would have set the commission at around 8%. But cash always adds additional risks, so the percentage was raised. When the money finally arrived in our accounts, I felt incredibly relieved and even euphoric. We proved to ourselves that we can handle even such complex transactions as large cash withdrawals. The client was more than satisfied. He received his millions without any problems or delays. Although, as it turned out later, not all of us came out of this game as winners. But more on that later. Now we felt like real players in a big market. The $3 million was no longer just earnings from the deal. It was a confirmation that we had risen to a new level in the world of shadow finance. The feeling of victory was so strong that for a while, we even forgot about the constant fear that had been haunting us throughout the process. The stress and tension that had been building up for months gradually melted away under the pressure of the joy of our success. And then something happened that I didn't expect at all. Although now that I look back, I realize it was almost inevitable. After we successfully closed the deal and earned $3 million, I decided to take 20% of my share immediately. I've always liked to reward myself for my hard work right away. My friend convinced me to keep the entire amount in the company's accounts, insisting that it was better to keep the money in one place for future big deals. He spoke convincingly, giving arguments about security and business development, but I said, "I'm already keeping 80% for the joint venture." It soon became clear why he was trying so hard to convince me. I didn't listen to him and took my $300,000, but we decided to keep the rest of the money in the company's account. It seemed logical at the time. We had just closed a huge deal and were planning to develop the business further. So we decided to have a little rest and celebrate. We went to an elite club and celebrated our success with champagne, girls, and expensive cocktails. That night, everything seemed to be under control. We were on top with lots of money and endless opportunities. After the party, I returned home feeling like I could do anything. But this mood quickly changed when I decided to check my accounts. Something was wrong. At first, I thought it was a technical glitch or some kind of error, but the more I checked, the more obvious it became that my friend had set me up. Everything was planned in advance. He hired top lawyers to help him find all the gaps in our documents, the same documents that we signed at the very beginning, when we were still dreaming of big money. We were not too concerned about the little things back then. We wanted to start earning money as soon as possible and did not delve into the legal details. And so while I was relaxing and thinking about our future together, he slyly took the company away from me. There was a gap in the paperwork that he skillfully exploited to completely force me out of the business. I lost access to all our accounts and assets. All the money, including our last deal for $3 million, remained under his control. My signatures, which I used to sign without hesitation as a formality, have now become a tool he used to get rid of me. As a result, I was left with only the $300,000 that I managed to take before everything fell apart. And the money I had withdrawn for myself earlier, although it wasn't much, I could have raised about $200,000 more. All other funds, including my share of the last deal, remained in the company's account, to which I no longer had access. He dumped me and left me with nothing. The moment of realization was simply shocking. I was sitting in my apartment and the world around me began to spin. I realized that now I had nothing. No business, no money, no friend who had been by my side all my life. As soon as I realized that I had been abandoned, I couldn't just sit back and do nothing. At first, I was overwhelmed by a wave of shock and anger, but then, this feeling gave way to a cold desire for revenge. If I didn't get the business, no one else would. I decided that my ex-friend would pay for his betrayal, and my plan was simple: to destroy him the same way he had destroyed me. I started looking for ways to frame him and accidentally came across an interesting offer on the same forum. The seller there claimed to be a former FBI agent and could set up a frame-up on anyone by creating compromising evidence and passing it on to the right people. It was too tempting. My plan was gradually coming into play. I knew it would not be easy to destroy my former friend's business, but I had the main trump card: information. I gathered all the data that could prove his criminal activity. Transactions, fake accounts, money laundering schemes, cryptocurrency mixers, fake verification documents. I had everything. After all, I created this system myself. I knew about every fake wallet, every transaction, every fake buyer through whom we were funneling money. This information was my weapon. I passed this data on to a seller from the forum who assured me that he could ruin my former partner's life for a fee. He started to act cautiously at first. There were small manipulations. He sent anonymous complaints to the platform we used for transactions. Then he managed to get in touch with a few people from financial institutions who started to show interest in the accounts and money movements. Over the course of several weeks, the case began to gain momentum. The decisive blow was the leak of compromising data to law enforcement agencies. Many of them were fake, but some were real. This made the situation even worse for my former partner. Not only money laundering transactions surfaced, but also fake documents and fake identities that we used for fake accounts. Our business looked like a huge money laundry, and my former friend became the prime suspect. I don't know if the person I had hired really used to work in a high position in the FBI, but for some reason, law enforcement acted much faster than usual in this case. The sudden raid happened when my former friend did not even suspect that something was being prepared. He was arrested right at home. Everything was seized: computers, phones, bank documents. Every step of our illegal activity was revealed. The platforms through which our transactions were conducted were blocked and our accounts were frozen. His arrest was only the beginning. All of the company's assets were frozen, and our business ceased to exist. Not a single penny of the money he stole from me was returned to him. My plan worked 100%. He was in jail, and the business he was so greedy to keep for himself was destroyed. I got my revenge. He left me with nothing, but he lost everything as a result. But after all this, I couldn't help but ask myself one question. Was it really worth it? Yes, I saw him lose everything, but I was left with almost nothing myself, only the bitter aftertaste of how easy it is to lose everything because of greed and trust. I didn't have much money left after all these events, and to be honest, I wanted to use it more than once to plunge back into shady business. Easy money, big risk, it always attracts you. But every time I thought about it, I saw the face of my old friend who had betrayed me so easily. I couldn't afford to go through that again. I decided to start from scratch. I founded a legal startup using only the resources I had saved. This time I was more cautious and no longer trusted anyone but myself. Now I have a clean business, but this choice was not easy. Most importantly, I don't trust anyone else. Not a single partner, not a single person close to me who could drag me into a new scheme or try to deceive me. I have already been through this and realized that it is enough. Life has taught me that betrayal can lurk anywhere, and I will not allow myself to be in that situation again. Money laundering, greed, and betrayal always lead to the same end. Some get rich, while others are left with nothing, or worse, end up behind bars. This story is yet another reminder. Risk may seem tempting, but the price you will have to pay for it can be far higher than you ever imagined. If something seems too good to be true, it's most likely a trap. Stay vigilant and don't let greed destroy your life or the lives of your loved ones. My name is Mr. Dark Web, and I share these stories not to glorify crime, but so that you never follow that path. Do you want to learn more about the dark secrets of the Darknet? Or other shady schemes? Let me know in the comments. Maybe the next story on the channel will be exactly about what interests you. Thank you for staying with me. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. And remember, stay on the bright side of the internet. See you in the next episode.